So I am back in the United States of America, back in my hometown. And it's been a couple days, maybe 2, 3 days since I've done one of these now. And I want to make sure I stick with the practice. I want to keep those good habits going. It's been extremely helpful, extremely life-changing, and honestly, I should be sleeping. I'm fucking jet lagged out of the ass. And I'm honestly I feel really tired, really weak, really fragile. In the past 48 hours, I've hardly slept, really. I mean, I just got some sleep, luckily, but definitely need a lot more sleep. But I also feel that my mind is just really chaotic and there's so much to process that I can't sleep. So I'm just gonna talk. In terms of feelings, I feel very weak. I feel nervous. I feel anxious. I feel some level of scared. And surprisingly, I'm sure I'll feel more awkward as time goes on, but this is the first time now that the country I'm recording these in, everyone around me can understand me. Like when I'm in China, when I was in China, no one can understand what I'm saying, so there's a level of ease, or a level of comfort that's a little different, because I can literally be saying whatever, I can say anything and no one would understand me. And so now it's a bit of a different situation where now when I talk like this, everyone can understand me. And now that I think about it, this probably looks really weird. I'm just sitting on a bench in a park talking to my phone. But that's okay. I feel like that realization struck me with a certain level of anxiety and fear. But I feel that I've reached a point where I can pretty strongly recognize, in a way, when it is that my inner child is um, talking or feeling. And what I mean by that is I feel that there's this awareness of my feelings and of my thoughts, and I feel that I've reached the point where I can be aware of it, I can feel it, like, but I'm still very much in control of how to respond and how I want to handle those feelings. And this was really tested last night, and I think that's what I want to talk about. I haven't been here for too long now. It's been less than 24 hours, actually. Um, and one of the main things I did was go hang out with some friends for the evening. And we were intending to do a poker night and play some poker. But we actually ended up not playing at all. And just talking, honestly, for the whole time. Which is not something that's typical. There's a crazy man ahead of me. That is something I haven't seen in a very long time. um, wow, that's something I have to get used to again. Being back in the U.S. Um, I don't know if I'll be able to maintain my train of thought as I walk by. Let me walk to the side here. He's muttering to himself. um, but yeah, so yesterday I hung out with a group of friends. Um, so I've spoken before on how I had a very toxic friend group. I felt really uncomfortable and really, not even just uncomfortable, but honestly at times manipulated. At times it felt like I was put down or um, it felt that some of my friends weren't really my friends. Like, they didn't act like friends. They weren't trustworthy. They weren't supportive. They weren't what I believed a friend is. In fact, they were quite the contrary. They were very toxic, very negative, very judgmental. And, from that friend group, I cut off a lot of them. I blocked a lot of them. And I only have the ones that I'm closer to and that I guess in a way I feel and know that they're better people, the people I want in my life. And when I was on the plane, coming back, my 12-hour flight from Korea to LA, I was feeling a lot of different emotions. I surprisingly was very emotional. And also, I think part of this is my physical state. I was very tired. I hardly slept. But I also found myself being very, judgmental and just, annoyed and frustrated. And just sort of, I don't know, just, annoyed at people and, just little things. And, I realized, my understanding, I feel that part of being annoyed, part of being judgmental, being resentful, or just sort of bitter about the people around you, I realized that part of it is like a defense mechanism. Like, in this case, I feel like as soon as I was able to let my walls down and relax and be vulnerable and feel comfortable crying in my like in my seat on the plane, just by myself, I feel like it was really relieving, and a lot of that just sort of dissipated and just sort of went away. But when I was on the plane, I was sort of just processing all these different things. There was a sense of sadness, of grief, a sense of excitement, and a sense of fear of the unknown. I mean, for the past 4 months, I was living/traveling Asia, and I feel like that's been very life-changing, as with most of my travels. And I've been traveling semi full-time or semi often for maybe 9 months now, maybe more. And I feel like so much has changed. I've learned so much about myself. I've grown so much. I look at the world in such a different way. And I feel that there's a sense of fear, a sense of uncomfortability with coming back and being back in the US. And I feel a sense of heaviness a sense of anxiety, a sense of vulnerability with being back in the US. And this is something I've been aware of to some extent for a while. But I feel like I'm making more and more sense of it. And I'm certainly wanting to continue doing this to process and figure my shit out. But it's a lot, man. And I realized that yesterday when I was hanging out with my friends. Most of the time when we chat, it's kind of just poker, or like we'll just play games, or I guess just like I don't know, just about whatever. But this time we chatted basically for the whole night. We didn't even get to the poker. We didn't even play poker. We ended up just chatting like the whole day, and like 7 hours, I think. It was really just chatting, and that's pretty abnormal for us. I feel that my approach to the hangout was definitely very different. I try to be more honest. I try to be more aware of how I was feeling, what I was thinking. And a lot of times it wasn't very good. I didn't feel very good. And my mind is thinking like, oh, like there's no way anyone's watching this. Like I'm just so slow and like stumbly on all this shit. But that's okay. I mean, it's for myself. When I was on the plane, I was like really passionate and feeling really empowered. And I had a ton of like ideas for videos, just talking passionately about something. And I'm sure there'll be the time and place where I feel ready and excited and wanting to tackle that and to put my heart and soul into some of those videos. I feel they're important to me and are centered around my experiences. And I guess there was a level of feeling this morning that maybe I should record one today, this morning, right now, instead of this. I should be like fucking hyped as fuck, passionate as fuck, and like sharing my my deep passion and soul for some of the things I want to talk about. And I certainly want to at some point. When I was on the plane, I was fucking hyped. I was ready to, man. I could have, if there was a private place for me to talk and like ramble and shit, I would have gone hard. Noticing my mind, because as soon as I say that, my mind is sort of rejecting it. Sort of saying like, no, I wouldn't have. Like, if I really wanted to, like, I could have. Like, I just shouldn't care. Like, I could have just done it there, right then and there on my plane seat. Like, not giving a fuck. Like, not cared about the people around me. Blah blah blah. You know, and that's the thing, man. Like, sometimes we're not. I mean, I think most of the times, a lot of us aren't aware of what's going on in here, and the automatic thoughts and feelings and shit that pops up. And yeah, I mean, if I didn't catch that, I would have, let myself feel like, oh, like I'm shitty, like I should have done this, I should have been better, or I should suck it up, I should just blah blah blah, whatever, But fuck that shit. There's no such thing as should in my dictionary. I either want to, or if I should, it's probably that I want to, if that makes sense. And I think a lot of us do things because we want to do them. But anyways, Man, this is gonna be a long one. But I guess I do hope to make those videos that are very passionate, but I want it to be honest, I want it to be authentic, I want it to be real, and I want to film it when it feels right to film it, which I think I will, probably very soon, but it's whatever, it doesn't matter. Who knows? But anyways, I did this hangout with my friends, and it was really nice to see everyone. Like I said, these are some of my friends who are closer. There's about 5 of us, and certainly some of the ones that are way less toxic and just better people. That doesn't mean they're without their flaws, though. I mean, we all are. I'm sure I equally am bringing many flaws to the table. But, I think yesterday proved to me that, like, all the work on myself that I've done, all the increase I've had in awareness and my ability to be aware of how I'm feeling, be aware of what I'm thinking, be aware of what I'm choosing to believe, and using that awareness and also communicating it effectively. I feel that that's been extremely that was extremely efficient, extremely useful, and extremely fundamentally changing in our dynamic as a friend group. And I feel that I often, when in isolation, like if it's just me and one friend, I feel like this is the case for most people. Like that's typically the time when everyone's gonna be pretty chill, pretty respectful, pretty open, maybe more honest, more vulnerable. It's easier to. And I feel that it's definitely harder in a friend group to be vulnerable, to be those things. And, a huge part of our discussion last night centered around something that happened the last time I came back from China. Which was that there was this week I came back from China after being there for a year as a teacher. I felt amazing. It was life-changing. It was fundamentally just earth-shattering in the best of ways. And I had so much new awareness and understanding of myself and of the world, and I was feeling amazing. And I was talking about my experience on this camping trip we went on, where I was feeling really excited to share about China and to share about my experiences and how much it's changed me. And there was this incident where my friends were sort of like bantering with me, and I felt I was already now that I understand it in retrospect, I was feeling extremely vulnerable and afraid to talk about vulnerable things, to talk about my experiences that were very personally important and vulnerable, and things I was passionate about. But I was also very afraid of that. And I was very afraid to, even though these are some of my closer friends, you don't know. Let me explain. My friend group was extremely toxic, particularly through COVID era, and I distanced myself from a lot of them. I blocked a lot of them. And I remained with the ones that I felt closer to, I'd known for longer, that I knew that they still, I felt still respected and valued as a friend and trusted, and that I could trust them. But at this point in time, maybe like 9 months ago from today, I was I was feeling very heavy, very afraid to share these vulnerable things. And as I shared them, um, I felt very shut down. I my friends, part of the thing about going to China, as a country that's so as a country with strong conceptions, like in the US there's very strong preconceptions around China, or like around Russia, like around some of these countries where there's a lot of history, and particularly like communist history. And I feel that my friends aren't very aware of life in China, which is expected, right? Like most people aren't. That's part of why I was so excited and passionate about speaking more on these things. I can feel myself waking up, getting a little more passionate, a little more excited. 21 minutes in now. My mind is telling me like, oh, like everyone's left already. Like there's no point. But fuck it. It doesn't fucking matter, man. I'm feeling. I'm kind of feeling it. I'm feeling that flame. But yeah, I mean, I was really excited to talk about China, to talk about my experiences, and to share that with other people. But the thing is, like, I feel that sometimes people don't want to know. Sometimes people don't care to know. Sometimes people don't want to understand. And that was one of my fears going into it. I felt like my friend group, the norm was certainly not to talk about things we cared about, talk about things that are vulnerable, talk about things that we're excited about or enthusiastic about, or our dreams or our wishes or our aspirations, all this shit. That certainly wasn't the case in my friend group. And it took realizing that to like get myself out and to really explore why it felt so wrong, why it felt so uncomfortable. And this was my first time back from China. I was feeling really uncomfortable, really scared. Even though some of my closer friends, I was feeling just really scared. And I was scared to talk about these personal things, these vulnerable things. And part of that is what's helped me realize now that like I want a friend group where I can be supportive or supported. I can be supportive as well. I'm respected. I'm trusted. That I'm listened to, heard, understood. And of course, I want to do the same thing for my friends. And, in that sense, working on our part of that equation forces the other person to change and to impact. And I'm feeling really good about how I mean, definitely not perfect, definitely a lot of sadness and a lot of noticing that now that I'm walking by people. This is such a strange thing, because when I'm in China, like, I can walk by people, they have no fucking clue what I'm talking about. So it's a lot easier. But I'm noticing a certain level of like fear, a certain level of anxiety. And I always think like it must be so weird. Like if I was just walking around and someone was filming themselves on their phone and they're like, oh, like, yeah, I'm walking by someone right now, like I'm feeling really anxious, like really scared or whatever, like I would be so confused. It'd be like a funny confusion, like what the heck? Because I think most people don't care. Everyone's way too caught up with their own life. And then, I think maybe it would be part of realizing that most people are really friendly. I mean, I already know that, I guess. But that was a huge part of leaving China, right? Like, I had all these amazing experiences, and I met these amazing people, and I felt like when I left the U.S., I felt that I lost my sense of self, lost my sense of wonder, my sense of awe, my sense of connectedness, and appreciation for people in the world. And I was really excited to share about my experience in China because so much of that had changed. I felt like I'd seen the light, or I'd uncovered. I'd like dusted off the cobwebs and uncovered some really meaningful and like interesting insight into my life and who I was and why I was the way I was. And I feel that I didn't have the space to talk about it. I felt very afraid. And when I did talk about it, my friends jumped to the classic stereotypical shit. Like the banter, like, oh, like Tiananmen Square, like, oh, like communists, like, oh, is like everyone like communists there? Like, oh, like look at you, like you like China, like you're a communist, blah blah. The usual shit. And I wasn't surprised. That was kind of the dynamic of my friend group in the past, and it was something I was expecting. But it was also very hurtful. It also felt very uncomfortable, very saddening, very painful, because I felt like there was so much I wanted to share, but I felt like no one actually wanted to listen. And I'm feeling a certain sense of negativity in my mind. Still saying like, oh, like no one's gonna watch, I've lost everyone, I'm going on for too long, I'm not making sense, I'm not being coherent, blah blah blah. Which at this point I am very aware of when my mind does that. And I know that it's fear of judgment, fear of criticism, fear of failure. But yeah, definitely feeling pretty negative. Pretty self-critical. But yeah, when I was sharing these things with my friends, it ended up being what I expected it to be. It turned into a conversation about a bunch of shit that had nothing to do with what I experienced. It had to do with just the jokes and the teasing and the same bullshit, I guess, as always, where everyone just wants to shit on China, on a country they've never been to, never experienced, that they really have no idea what it's actually like there. And I think for a lot of times, like even just right now, I was feeling a little more riled up. I was feeling ready to fucking go off. But the thing is, like, it doesn't come from a place of hatred or like, well, I think it does for some. A lot of people, if they know that there's a place that's hated or a group of people that's hated, like they'll jump on that shit and they'll attack the easy targets. It's like why like bullies might like talk shit about like a special ed kid or something, special education. Like you can just shit on them, and it's an easy target, and it's cowardly. But that's the way the people who are the most judgmental, pessimistic, like who run their mouth, talk shit, they're the most cowardly people out there. And that's the thing, like they would never do these things in person. And that's part of like the dynamic in my friend group. Like people did some fucking fucked up shit, really toxic shit, talked really poorly of each other. really critically, really personal, like attacks, all this shit. It was a fucked up time. And I definitely want to talk about it in a much more cohesive and a more cohesive and honest and like powerful way. I want to make more videos like the video I made, my last video from this post, which is a video titled "To Those Who Have Nothing to Live or Die For," which I was extremely excited about. And I guess I still am, but half of it, the first half of the video, deleted off my phone. So I was forced to just post what I had, which is the second half, which was pretty saddening. My mind's telling me I'm fucking switching up the subjects, like I'm losing everyone, like I've already lost everyone, let's be honest. No one's watching this right now. And that's a beautiful thing, you know? That's something my mind might say to shit on me. But, you know, it's a beautiful thing. It's liberating to realize that no one's watching, because it allows you to act in a way that's most aligned with yourself and the person you want to be, the person you choose to be. And I feel that a lot of what's held me back in my life, and honestly the main thing that holds me back, is fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of criticism. And I've made a lot of progress. I feel amazing. I feel really proud of myself of the progress I've made. Still excited for what's to come and just how much better it's gonna get. And it's all based on small actions, on taking those stepping stones, using those stepping stones. And, you know, in fact, it's been amazing doing this, because I realized not only that most people aren't really negative, aren't really toxic, and aren't shitting on me, but I've actually been getting a plethora of like just really nice, wholesome, heartfelt, like passionate, like compassionate, sympathetic comments. I've been getting so much love and like support and concern from people. It's been really beautiful, and in a way I think, you know, that's what I expected. In a way, it's definitely, emotionally, I definitely didn't expect that. I feared what my mind fears, which is that people would shit on me, that most people would hate on me for being vulnerable. But I'm really proud of myself for having the distinction now between what I feel was going to happen, or what I feel afraid of happening, but still having the control and the awareness to choose what I want, how I want to respond to a situation, to choose what my part of the equation is. And it's kind of has a lot to do with my night with my friends yesterday, where we were talking, and you know, in a lot of ways I felt that my friends hadn't changed. I felt that there's many instances where I feel that they're being pretty like judgmental or like toxic. I think at this point the differentiator is that with some of the older friends in that group, or the ones that I previously still was in contact with, I think a lot of them, they would be judgmental and toxic, but they didn't have that line, you know? I feel like most friends, like, you might shit on things or like rant or like be a little judgmental about things or about other people, but it tends to be that there's a line, right? You don't you don't project that anger, that resentment, that judgment onto your own friends. And I feel that with my old friend group, some of those people absolutely did. And the differentiator between this friend group I have now and the people I still have around me and who I still trust and who I still want to keep in my life is that, for one, I feel that they're better people and they care about me, they trust me, they respect me. But also I feel that they know that line. Like, they don't, I think in the form of banter more particularly, they might bring that onto me. But, and it's certainly what happened when I was trying to share about China, and I felt like my friends shut me down. I couldn't share because now I was feeling very sad, very hurt, because there's so much I wanted to share, but I felt like no one wanted to listen. And at the same time, like yesterday, like, there was still a lot of those same habits, a lot of banter, a lot of negativity, and let's see, still feeling that some of those old habits were still there. The judgmental comments, shitting on people. I feel like that's a hallmark of like life in America. Freedom of speech, like, it means that people, it's kind of like just because you can doesn't mean you should. Like, I feel like a lot of people, maybe they don't realize, maybe they don't care, maybe it doesn't affect them as much as it does for myself. Personally, I've realized a huge part of all this is that I feel that maybe I have a disposition that's more sensitive to emotions, to comments, to negativity, and I feel it a lot more strongly. It feels very scary to be around negativity and stuff. And I think that's kind of at the core of that's at the core of a grand part of my experiences over the years with my friend group. And I certainly think a lot of things they did were toxic and fucked up, 100%. And I'm trying to be careful because in the past, my way of dealing and being around stuff like this was to minimize myself and to suppress myself and bottle up my own emotions, my own thoughts, my own uncomfortability with the horrible shit going on around me. And, I felt a lot of this. I was challenged, I was tested on a lot of these principles last night when I met up with my friends and I finally talked with them. And I guess challenge all my fears. I feel like, the past month or two, I already fucking miss China. I already miss my rock, the park I would always film videos at and just sit on a rock and just talk. Man, lovely place, man. I already miss it. I miss my girlfriend. If my girlfriend's watching, I love you. She probably isn't. Oh, man. Let's unpack that. Oh my gosh. In a lot of ways, it was amazing. It was great to be with my friends again, to be around my friends again. In a lot of ways, it was pretty overwhelming emotionally, and I felt like it was a test of all the fears that I've built up in my mind. And not to say that, I feel like my friends, I feel that they're still, I was talking about emotions last night and feelings, and it felt to me that there was a very strong sense of defensiveness, or almost it felt that my friends were very anti-emotion, very much in the camp that they shouldn't, that our feelings don't matter, that we shouldn't be controlled by our feelings, and just very it felt like they're very defensive and resistant when I was talking about my feelings. And one of the things that I really believe, and that one of the things I want to be able to do, is to be extremely vulnerable and emotional around my friends, in general, just to be able to be myself and to not be afraid of showing vulnerability. I think that's what takes true strength, you know? Like, a lot of times, I feel like my friends are in the camp of, like, it's kind of like what we're taught, or, like, socially, sort of, like, the social construction. I feel like, as a man in the US, there's this idea that to be strong, to be manly, to be masculine, a huge part of that is, like, not showing your emotions, not crying, not being vulnerable. But honestly, the thing about a lot of the things, like a lot of the social constructs, is that, like, maybe this is where I see things that many other don't. My mind is kind of shutting me on that for saying that I'm being egotistical, but it's certainly not the intent, and I know that, and that's what matters. So fuck my mind, fuck anyone who says I'm just being egotistical. Although there's probably no one that's saying that. Anyone who would say that, anyone that's like angry enough and like resentful enough to say stuff like that, is not sitting here at the 41-minute mark on a video of just me talking. And I think that's part of what I'm really excited for, is like, I feel like I'm certainly gonna keep doing this. Damn, I keep trying to catch myself because I learned from a video with Dr. K, healthygame.gg, that there's actually like immense power in not telling people what you're going to do. Because if you tell people what you're going to do, there's like, you can imagine like a flame in your heart, and there's like a little fire burning. But like, as you tell people, like that fire gets a little weaker, it burns out a little. And the thing about telling people what you're going to do is that you get rewarded for like talking about doing something. Because like, let's say I'm saying like, oh, I'm gonna be a YouTuber. People might be like, oh shit, dude, like that's fucking sick, like go for it, like you got it, dude, like blah, 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 right? And that feels really good, that feels really motivating. But the thing is, like, actually, I guess I am at a point where I feel like I could say I am a YouTuber. And maybe that's the distinction I want to make. Or, like, the thing about what I'm getting at is, if you say what you're going to do, you'll often be rewarded just for saying that you're going to do it, and you haven't done it yet. And I see this a lot of times in like the comment sections of stuff. It's it's super easy to say you're going to do something. Like, I could say like, oh, I'm going to be an astronaut. I'm going to, I don't know. I'm trying, even now, I'm trying to catch myself and not say any of the things that I actually do intend on doing, because of that same principle. I want to, what Dr. K talks about is like keeping that fire within you and letting it burn, and like not telling anyone about it. Like, acting, doing the things, making it happen before you tell people, or before people see that what you've done. And I feel like that's kind of been a huge principle of my channel so far, is like, I don't really tell people much. Some people ask, some people check in, some people are like, oh, like, I saw you've been posting videos, like blah, blah, blah. I'm always so curious what it looks like to other people, because to me, I feel that most people don't really care. And this is where some of those like inner beliefs sort of pop up, that I have the awareness of it, where like I do feel that there are certain beliefs I have that present themselves in the way I perceive situations now. And part of that is, I think it shows itself extremely often in like ambiguity, like in situations where you don't know what the other end of the experience is. For example, this, like, most of my friends, like, I have no fucking clue what they think or how they actually feel about my channel and what I'm doing, or my family, my friends, I mean, whatever. If anyone's watching, shout out. There's no way anyone's watching. So let me just get that. Oh my gosh. Someday, man. But the thing is also, like, it's not something to take personally. Like, if I had a friend who was posting like 2-3 hours of content a day, like, there's no way I'm gonna have the time to keep up. And, you know, I think that's the thing. Like, I want to make sure that I don't take things personally. I want to I want to be someone who is self-assured and self-driven. And, I think if I had told people what I was going to do, this channel wouldn't exist. I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. I wouldn't be filming this video right now. I would have been dissuaded, whether intentionally or with awareness or not. I would have been dissuaded and felt dissuaded. I would have let myself be dissuaded. That's a distinction I've been thinking about a lot and trying to do a lot these days, to bring the power back to how I can respond to these situations. And sure, let's say it is the case that there are a lot of people around me who want my downfall, who aren't, who want me to fail, and who aren't interested in me or the things I'm doing. Let's say that is the case, right? Like, if that's the case, like, I can't control that. I can only control how I respond. And I want to be someone who, I expect that at some point, to some degree, probably not an insane amount, but I expect that to some degree, if this channel is to blow up or grow really, I feel like there's like that potential for something to go like viral at some point. I do feel that what I'm doing is very strange, very different, very odd. And I feel like as I'm improving at using my voice, there's more interaction, I'm changing my end of the equation. I'm being more vulnerable. I'm being more passionate. I'm being more honest. I'm being more authentic. And I think when people see that, it's a lot easier for them to resonate and for me to convey the message that I want to convey across. And so I feel really excited about the direction things are going. I'm really proud of what I've done so far. And man, there's so much I need to figure out now that I'm back in the US, whether I'm gonna get a job or I don't know. I don't really know, man. But what I do know is that there are a lot of things that I feel are very wrong with the world, very wrong with the US, that don't make sense. And I feel that for so long I've been afraid to use my voice and to speak up about the things I see. But I feel like there's so much that I see, so much that I've observed and that I've tried to understand over the years, that I've never had the courage and the capacity to actually voice those things and to be honest about those things and to put it out into the world. A lot of times it could just be not even into the world, but just into my friends group, into my family. It can be very hard. And sometimes there's certainly a level of like our past experiences affect how we experience things today. At the same time, like, there are also people who are very shitty and who aren't thinking about how they affect others, and who don't care about you or don't care enough to care about you. And it's a really tricky thing. It's really tricky because I feel that there's a lot of people. One of the things that happens a lot in the modern world is that no one is questioning their perception, and it feels like everyone feels that their perception of what happened, of what's things like that, like, they take it as truth, as like reality. But there's just such a fundamental inconsistency, a fundamental paradox or like fallacy to that, or contradiction. Like, if I say like, and I feel like America is the place where it happens the most because everyone can talk about how they feel and what they think. And I feel that over time, there's less and less of a desire to listen to others. And I feel like it's one of the things that's just driving this country into the dirt. And that's the thing, like, for so long, like, I would be afraid to say something like that. I would be afraid to be honest, afraid to voice my true thoughts. And at the same time, I feel there's immense power, even just personally, and it's very personally empowering to feel the courage to voice your thoughts and your feelings. And I want to be someone who can do that. And let me pause there actually. I am aware that my mind is worried about how incohesive and how tangented and just all over the place this video is. But at this point, what does it fucking matter? We're at 50 minutes. I feel like there's no way there's anyone in this world who's watching this right now. At least not now. Not now as I'm filming it and once I post it. Probably not. But, I feel like there's only one way this can go. If I just never quit and I just keep doing this day in, day out, I do feel that at some point I would reach a point where I am so strongly in tune with myself and love myself and proud of myself and passionate about myself and the things that I care about, that I will be able to talk about anything in such a effective and just blazing way. And I've had a taste of that. I've had the video I posted to those who have nothing to live or die for. That was a video where I felt extremely passionate, the most alive and in flame and just burning with passion and soul and pouring my heart into something that I had done in a very, very long time. And I know it's possible. I've tasted it, I've felt it, and I feel that I am getting closer to that, and I'm so fucking proud of myself, man. Let's fucking go. Fist bump to my fucking self. Boom. Let's fucking go. I'm a fucking beast. Let's fucking go, man. I've been making crazy progress, man. I've been putting my heart and soul and making myself vulnerable, and it's been fucking paying off dividends. I felt amazing to rewire my mind and to realize all the fucked up shit that happened to me in my life and that I've come to believe, and all the fucked up shit that I internalize. And that's the thing. It could be, let's say it is the case, that maybe, let's assume it's true. Let's assume that many people are really fucked up, and in the US most people are really fucked up and they're going to do fucked up things. Let's say that's the case. If that's the case, that's out of my control. I can't change people's desire to do things. I can only change how I respond. And this is something I'm very passionate about, because part of why I want to talk about, one of the videos I want to talk about, I think there's a difference here. I'm not saying I'm going to talk about, but I want to talk about. I think that's different than, I don't know, I'm gonna say it anyways. One of the things I want to talk about is friendship toxicity, and I want to talk about just a lot of problems, honestly, that I feel with the US, and I guess just the world in general. It's not just the US, even in China, man, there's so many of the same problems, and I feel like there's just such a void of knowledge, and that's part of why I feel very passionate and very happy about the idea still of doing vlogs, because I feel that there's this huge gap in the way that we understand each other, in the degree of awareness or understanding we have of each other. And I feel that, if someone told me what is daily life like in Botswana, Africa, I could not fucking tell you, man. I have no fucking clue. But the thing is, like, I think I saw this quote somewhere. I forget by who. Albert Einstein? I don't know. There's some quote saying, like a true man, like, I forget what the fuck it was. But something along the lines of, like, a lot of times people don't admit when they don't know something. Oh, I think it was like true knowledge is knowing when you don't know. I think that's what it was. True knowledge is knowing when you don't know something. And I feel like, or at least it's just my feeling, it's my experience, my perception. It feels like a lot of people have literally no fucking clue about things. And I think that's part of why that often is like the way that manifests is like if we don't know about something and we feel that something is an easy target or like easy to pick on or let's say like all right, let me be careful about how I process. Let's talk about the Israel-Palestine conflict. Not to take any stance on either side, but just to talk about the nature of that conflict and the way that people talk about it and go about it. Even just yesterday, part of what I was very intentional about, I didn't share any of my beliefs. I mean, I was never really asked, but when I'm not asked, I can still ask to share and see if people want to listen. And I think that's something I'm learning that I am very bad at. I often feel that if I'm not asked, people don't want to know. And so I'll often, like, what I've been trying lately is to just completely, like, just listen and understand to the other party. Just talk with them until they feel that until they feel that I understand them. And what will sort of naturally happen most of the time is that if you just completely serve as like a mirror or like a let's see, how can I say this? If you really listen to someone and really just let go of your own belief, you suspend belief to first understand how they feel and what they think and what they believe and how they understand the world or the situation or whatever. It's been my experience that letting go of my desire to share my belief and to express my belief makes the situation just 100% more effective and impactful and meaningful, because the thing is that most people, if they feel that you're lending your ear and you're listening and you're trying to understand them, they will feel extremely appreciative. And this is something I've realized I feel very strongly about and I really actually love doing, is there's an immense sense of like appreciation and it's just so impactful, like for people to feel heard, to feel understood. I feel like we all want to feel heard, we all want to be understood, including myself, man. And I feel like in my experience, being the change I want to see, like for example, if I say like, oh, like I wish people would ask me how I'm doing more, I wish people would check in on me or like ask me to share about things, like if that's how I feel, like I can't change what people do, I can't make people ask me. I could try like asking them if like they're comfortable hearing or listening to me. That's certainly an option, and that's something that I tend to leave off the table and something I want to explore some more for myself. I feel that I often am afraid to ask or voice my needs because I think I've been conditioned to feel that my feelings, my needs are my responsibility, which it is, I agree. I do agree. I feel that my needs, my feelings, my emotions are my responsibility, but that doesn't mean that other people can't support me or listen to me, right? And I think a lot of times, I see this a lot in myself and in other people, where we feel that other people don't want to help us, that other people don't want to listen to us. And we tend to run with that feeling. We tend to act based on that feeling. We tend to believe in alignment with that feeling. And, yesterday was definitely a struggle. It was definitely uncomfortable at times. I definitely felt very afraid, very anxious, very on alert when I was talking to my friends, because we were tackling much more sensitive topics. So for myself, I used to hate political and religious discussion, because I felt that it was almost impossible for people to talk about these things without feeling personally attacked. And it's understandable, it makes sense. These things there's a reason they are trigger such strong emotional responses, because they're very real. I mean, it's a very real impact. There are some people who might feel that like it's our duty to be political and to talk about things. And I understand that. I understand where they're coming from. And I'd love to understand more too. For myself, I've been someone that hates being about political and religious discussion, because I feel that most people aren't actually capable of political and religious discussion without extremely strong emotional reactions that deter from the conversation, deter from the discussion, and deter understanding of each other. Damn, I don't know what my battery's at. I'm hoping I'm not about to die or something. And I feel that that's made me very... I felt very, uncomfortable and just sort of, uneasy around, talk about politics and shit like that, because I feel that people feel extremely strongly about it. And I think, as I was saying earlier, I feel a very strong emotional disposition. I feel that I feel things very strongly. And I think that's part of why I feel that I pick up on things that a lot of people don't realize or aren't aware of. And, for a long time, even just saying something like that, I would fear using my voice or making a statement like that, because I would fear that it's ego. That's what people would tell me, right? Fucking shitters. No, I'm kidding. But, I feel very empowered now. I feel very strong. I feel very able to use my voice and to talk about things. Definitely a lot of room to work on. There always will be. There's no upper limit to that. But I feel fucking amazing. A lot of times we focus on what we haven't done, on what's left to be done, and we don't acknowledge what we've done and our strengths and our accomplishments. And I feel that I'm finally at a place where I'm really feeling empowered and feeling my voice, my ability to voice what I feel and to listen to how other people feel and to try to understand them. I have a friend that's extremely religious, and for a very long time, conversation with him I felt would not be productive. It felt like no one actually was willing to listen or change their mind. And I feel like that's kind of at the core of a lot of the problems in the US. And I'll go back to the Israel-Palestine conflict, where I feel that a lot of people feel very strongly about their belief, and they have literal no interest in listening or trying to understand the other perspective. And so what I feel is sort of happens is that you basically get two people yelling at each other, but it's falling on deaf, what did it say? Falling on deaf ears. I feel that no one is actually listening, and so it's screaming into a void. And I feel like for myself, I've felt that there's there's like this camp, I feel that there's this camp of like belief where people think oh, like everyone should be involved in politics. Actually, I had a conversation with another friend about this very topic where they were talking about how we were talking about like police and stuff and like crime, and this was one of the first times that really that I really like overcame that fear of talking about stuff that's more sensitive, like politics and religion, because it's something I was very uncomfortable talking about for an extremely long time. And my friend was talking about it in the context of like police and like social justice and stuff like that. And I feel like regardless of the conflict, it can be anything. It could be gay rights, it could be transgenders, it could be war abroad, it could be like politics, so many things. And I feel that there's such a fundamental problem that is just fucking us, which is that it feels like no one really realizes it, or they don't care. It feels like some people don't care, which maybe is the case. Which then the question is, how do we make people care? How can I create the change I want to see in this world? And I feel that with politics, with religious discussion, that's something that's really hard for a lot of people to engage in, and something that was extremely hard for me to engage in, and something I engaged in a lot last night with my friends, and that I've made so much progress, especially with working on my relationship and how I show up to my romantic relationship, where I've made immense progress in being aware of my thoughts, my feelings, and being secure in my thoughts and feelings and my beliefs. And I've reached a point where I feel that I've finally gotten extremely good at not taking things personally, where I can talk about almost anything with almost anyone. And I know now that it's not a reflection of me as a person, even if they like say horrendous, hurtful shit or like hateful shit. Like, I realize now that everyone's experience of the world is very subjective, and a lot of times the way that other people project their anger, their hate, their resentment, their bitterness into the world is more having to do with them than it is with anything else. And part of that is like, I think part of that, a huge thing of that is emotion. If we have an event that happens that's extremely traumatic, and even just saying something like that, I feel that there's many people, including my friends, who I feel that there's like this, and it's like I feel it in a societal level, where it feels like people don't want to talk about certain things that are vulnerable. They kind of shit on it, and it's on both sides. It's on all sides of the spectrum in the US, I feel, where like one side wants to shit on the other side and like just be really judgmental, really like really disregarding of their point of view or their belief, because everyone feels that they're the one that's right. Right? And if you feel that you're the one that's right and that your belief is the right belief, then there's nothing anyone can do on either side to create any effective change. And I feel like at the core of most conflict, most wars, is honestly this principle where if one side feels that their perspective is right and no one is questioning their own perception or admitting that maybe there's some irregularity as to how we perceive the world, or that maybe the truth is actually more in the middle, which is my belief. I feel that the truth is always in the middle. And it's been extremely rewarding, extremely fulfilling, playing the role, like serving that role of being someone who just listens and who just seeks to understand others, and sort of just, I really like this phrase, like suspend belief, where it's like I suspend my own beliefs about a situation, about a topic, so I can truly understand how someone else feels about it. I want to acknowledge some feelings and thoughts I just had as well as I was walking by a couple, older couple. I felt a sense of fear of judgment, fear that they would criticize me or shit on me for saying the things I'm saying out loud. And I think that's one of the things, like I feel, it's not like they did anything. And that's the thing, like there's an absence of knowledge. I don't know what they feel, what they think. All I have is my perception. But if I don't question my perception, I could go through that situation and feel that they hate me, that they're judging me, that they blah, 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 this and that. And I think that's the problem with, I think one of the huge problems is taking things personally. I feel like that's one of the very strong problems in this world, grand problems in this world. And, all of it, a lot of it is human nature. But human nature can change and has changed, and I believe the way to change human nature is to bring about the change we want to see. And a huge part of that is being able to voice our own perspective. But, I think more important than voicing our own perspective is being able to listen to another perspective. Because I certainly feel very strongly about my beliefs and who I've chosen to be and the things that I am passionate about and care about. And I feel really good about that. I feel like that's extremely positive change. And I feel that that's a huge milestone, huge progress, huge stepping stone, let's say, in the right direction. It can greatly improve how I show up to a situation. All right, so there it is. It happened again. I ran out of storage on my phone, which is a big problem. Definitely gonna need to delete apps. And the first thing that I thought of was the situation happened where that one of my favorite videos to date now, to those who have nothing to live or die for, my impassioned, I don't want to say rant, I feel like it's more like a speech, but when that happened, when my phone ran out of storage in that situation, I was super passionate, I was fucking hyped up, so I quickly deleted some apps and stuff and started recording again and recording a new video. And I think that's where I fucked up. I did the best I could. And in a way, it's great. It's a test, really, that video is deleted and gone, because it really tests me as to whether I'll keep going. I felt really devastated. I felt really, honestly, like grief that video, half of it deleted, and I can never show the world what I said in that moment. But the experience is very real. It still happened. I still experienced it. I still felt it. And honestly, it's a great principle. It's a great test to see if, even though no one else perceived it, will I believe myself and feel valid for myself for what happened that day and what I experienced. Because it all happened. I was the only one there to witness it. Maybe some people late at night at 1 a.m. walking around. And I still have the second half of it. So I'm really happy for that. And that I can at least share that with the world. I think there's some level of feeling that, I genuinely did feel that video, it was my most passionate, I poured my heart and soul into it. And I did feel that it was very special. And I felt that, it could have, gone viral or some shit. And I feel like that's something that I've struggled with a lot, like thinking about like views and like I certainly feel that I want to not chase the views, but I think I've also like demonized my desire for views. I certainly don't want it to be the driving force of why I make content. I don't want to do it because I want to go viral. Although in a way I do, right? Like if I'm talking about something that I'm very passionate about, that I feel very strongly about, what is wrong with me wanting people to see that and resonate with that and for it to go viral? It would be incredible if it went viral. It would be amazing if it went viral. And this is all new realization to me right now as I'm filming this, because like in the past, I would feel an overwhelming sense of like guilt or like shame for feeling that I was like clout chasing, or like to feel that I was obsessed or absorbed in the outcome of the situation. And you know, I feel like there's nothing wrong with wanting that outcome. And if I don't seek that outcome, it shouldn't be because I feel that I shouldn't. It should be that I want to. Okay, that sounds really weird. This is pretty convoluted. Let me think about this. I want to do things because I want to. That might sound weird, but I feel that in my own experience and in my observations of others, it's extremely common for us to frame things in shoulds. Like, oh, I should do this, I should do that, blah, blah. Should, though, it's extremely indicative of what we feel, how we believe about things. And it's honestly one of my favorite, like, little tricks or hacks into, like, into creating the life you want and, like, deteriorating the walls that you've built up around you. Or not just the walls, but to really, like, intentionally be intentional. In a way you can think of it like being extremely intentional and mindful of, like, the castle you built, right? Like, let's say our mind as humans, like our mind, our values, our beliefs, it's like a castle that we're building. And I want to be very mindful of the castle I build and why I'm building it and why I'm constructing it the way I am. But I feel that for myself, and I feel that I observe this in many people very often, we're not actually in control of the castle we're building. We have built a castle not because we wanted to and we decided to, but because we felt that we should build it that way. And so this castle to me is our beliefs, our values, our feelings, our thoughts. And I feel that a lot of times people do things because they feel that they should do it, but they don't realize or take the time to question why should they. And a lot of times what I've found for myself and what I find in others is that when we're saying we should, it's typically we're acting or believing we should act out of the expectation of someone else. For example, if you go on social media and you see a guy that's like, oh, like, you gotta wake up at 5 a.m. If you're not waking at 5 a.m., you're a fucking piece of shit, you're a lazy little shitter, like, get your fucking life together, you fucking normie, fucking, what do they say? I don't know. There's a lot of this kind of talk in, like, the, like, grind set, like, Sigma male corners of the internet, where, like, it feels like, I mean, there's, like I said, there's a fuck ton of people. There's no lacking degree of people who are saying what you should do, who are voicing what they believe, and in a way, like, imposing it on everyone else. This is something I've thought about a lot too, because when I share my perspective, I feel that the most effective way to create change is to focus on my experience rather than telling people how they're experiencing the world. Because I don't have a fucking clue, man. I don't know how you fucking experience the world. I really fucking don't. No one can fucking tell you what you're experiencing. No one can tell you how you feel. That's yours, man. No one can take that away from you. If you let others take it away from you, then that's very possible. And I think there's an abundance of us, me included, that it seems like a huge problem is that a lot of us allow others to take things away from us. And, this comes back to that principle of, like, controlling what our side of the equation is. Like, let's say, like, I'm surrounded by a lot of people who are going to try to take things away from me. They're going to try to tell me how I feel, try to tell me what I should believe. And it's not even a hypothetical. This has been the case. I've had plenty of friends. I still have friends. I think there's been a lot of improvements, and, I've had many people in my life and have many people in my life who I think it's like just extremely common. No one really thinks about it. Like, we all lead by telling people what they should do. We all lead by trying to be understood before we try to understand. And I think that's one of the grandest problems of our time. And one of the things I feel extremely passionate and fulfilled in talking about and trying to change. And I feel that I want to lead by example. And one of the best ways to center it on, like, action, on what is in our control, because I can't control what people are going to do. I can only control how I respond. And let's say, like, if I know that, like, I have really I did. It's not even, let's say. I had very toxic friends. I had very negative influences. And I felt something was deeply wrong. I felt that I wasn't actually very aware of how I felt. And, this kind of goes back to that quote I mentioned where, like, true knowledge is knowing when you do not know. And that is extremely valuable, man. It's proven extremely valuable for myself and in my life. And I feel that so much of my journey and what I've been documenting and doing here isn't actually based on what I know. It's based on recognizing what I don't know. Like, a lot of my exploration of my feelings and my thoughts and my automatic beliefs, a lot of it starts with just this inkling of awareness, just a certain small feeling that I really have to tap into and explore. And then I realized, like, okay, like, wait, I don't actually know how I'm feeling. I don't actually know why I'm doing the things I'm doing, why I have these automatic habits, these automatic beliefs, these automatic reactions. Let me explore that. Not because I should, but because I want to. Because I feel it's right to. I feel that the person I want to be is someone that holds myself accountable and someone that is aware of how they feel, aware of what they think, aware of what they believe, able to voice it, able to stand up for myself, able to have conviction and passion, and to have something to live or die for. I want all those things, but I also want to be, not because I think I should be, but because I want to be someone who, despite all that, I can still put down my barriers, put down my walls, and still try my best to put myself in someone else's shoes and to try to understand someone else, listen to someone else. And I feel that is a direction I'm heading in that I feel extremely good about. I'm feeling very passionate about. And, I really have no fucking clue where I'm going to end up. I don't even know what this next week awaits for me. I am really, honestly, just living it day by day and just taking it easy. Just accepting myself as I am. And, the immediate thought that popped in my head is what I think a lot of my friends might think, or what I feel a lot of my friends might think, or a lot of society might think, particularly around, like, the whole grind set, like, hustle culture, where, like, people, a lot of times, like, I feel that these people aren't doing things because they want to. They don't enjoy making themselves suffer. They do it because they feel like they should. And, I think some people end up being so freaking deep in like this myth that they've created, or this, let me think about how I want to say this. I feel that there are times where if we're not careful and intentional, we can find ourselves constructing this life that we haven't chosen. And I feel that there comes a point for a lot of us where we've constructed a life that is so far removed from how we feel and what we believe and what our values are, and that are so built on the ideas of what we should be and how we should be living our life, that there comes a point where we identify so strongly with the way that we live our life that, it's like sunk cost fallacy. Like, it feels like there's no way out of it, and this is like our entire worldview, and it feels that the intensity, the fright, the fear of letting go of these beliefs, letting go of this lifestyle, is too immense for some people to ever go back, or to ever feel that they can go back. And they'll just commit to it. They'll commit to this life that they hate, that they're miserable living. And I feel that I see this all the time, and it's sad, man. It's tragic. I feel like it's a great tragedy of life where it feels like there's an abundance of people who are living a life they're unhappy with. I feel it's very common. It's the norm, honestly. Of course, I acknowledge that a lot of this is just based on my feelings and my perceptions, and that is extremely indicative and reflective of the way I experience the world, and could very well have nothing to do with the way they experience the world and how they view and feel things. And that's where it's very important to be able to understand, to be able to let go of my beliefs. I can share how I feel and what it seems like to me and how I'm perceiving a situation, but I want to be very careful, and to be someone who doesn't tell others how they feel and how they experience things. It's just what it seems like to me. And I feel that in my experience, in questioning myself and looking more inwards at myself, I feel that there's an immense importance in being very honest with ourselves. And I feel that there comes a point in our lives, I think everyone will experience it at some point in time, where the fear of what life would look like if we were honest with ourselves is so grand, so immense, that emotionally we're not ready to be honest with ourselves. Emotionally, we may never be ready to be honest with ourselves. And it feels that there are many people who, like as I talk to them, like it feels that they're not actually making sense. Part of that is difference in like worldviews, right? Like if I talk to someone that's like Muslim, like they're gonna have a very different understanding of the world and framework of the world than I will as someone that grew up here in the US and California. And I like to think, I feel that I'm scientifically oriented first and foremost. But I also know that I don't know a lot of things. And the spiritual world is the subjective. Okay, did it again. Ran out of phone storage. Deleted some apps. Finally deleted some videos that, man, basically this happens semi-often. I run out of storage, and then most of the times the videos come back. Right now, when I deleted apps and created the storage space, the video automatically showed up, although it wasn't showing up immediately. And I think that's where I fucked up with that video that to those who have nothing to live or die for, where I felt, I felt, I mean, I was really impassioned. So I immediately started filming as soon as I deleted some apps. But I think what I needed to do in that instance was to wait. Or I'm realizing now that I just need to create the space for that video to show up and then wait for it to show up and then continue filming, which is what I did for this one. This is now my third video that I'm gonna have to clip together. And honestly, it's kind of a life lesson. Like, wow, actually it's a really great life lesson. Like, I was so passionate. I don't blame myself. I did the best I could. I was really scared. I was really worried, really distraught that my video disappeared for to those who have nothing to live or die for. And and I did my best, but I think now I realize, like, if I had more patience and slowed down and made the space for the video to work itself out and to return to my phone without becoming a corrupted file, I think it all would have worked out. I made the decision just now to delete that video. I was hoping it would come back. I still held on to the hope. But it's been like 10 days now. It hasn't returned. So I went ahead and just accepted, okay, it's probably not coming back. And I feel like I've come to peace with it. It was really, really, really devastating at first because I poured my heart and soul into it. But I know now that, honestly, it feels like I'm meant to have experienced this because it's a great test to see if whether I still hold onto my experience of it. I know what I said. I don't know exactly what I said. I know the gist of what I was talking about and why I was so passionate. And I certainly can't bring that video back onto my phone or make it show up. I can only control what I do. And in this case, I think I could have controlled it. I could have controlled my urge to keep going and to give it some time to show up. But I mean, it's okay. It is what it is. And it's taught me an amazing life lesson. And I feel like that's one of the things about negative experiences in our life in general is that I feel that, I mean, they're bound to happen. No one can escape them. A lot of times I feel that we live our life in a way where we try to avoid negative experiences. We distance ourselves from negative experiences. Maybe we become indifferent or detached. Whether it's people, whether it's things, whether it's dreams maybe we have. I feel that over the years I definitely very much detached myself and became indifferent about my desires, about my dreams, my aspirations, my passions. So many things, man. And, you know, I feel that a lot of times it's like a defense mechanism. We don't realize this automatic function. It's a function of our brain, I feel. This automatic function that kicks in where we try to protect ourselves from pain and from hurt and from suffering because something extremely painful, hurtful, or sufferable happened to us, and it's too immense, too intense to feel the pressure, to feel that pain, or we're not ready to. And so, you know, what our mind does is we become detached, we become indifferent. And there's nothing wrong with that. It is what it is. I don't really believe in good and bad. It just is. And it's up to us how we want to respond to that. For myself, I feel that I certainly allowed myself to be very much influenced and controlled by my mind rather than me controlling my mind. And and I certainly feel that now, with the knowledge I have now and the awareness I have now, and the person I choose to be and I want to be, I certainly want to be someone that chooses who I am. I don't want to be chosen who to be, if that makes sense. I don't want to be someone because other people want me to be that, or other people think I should, or whatever, man. And that's a hard thing. I still feel, yesterday, oh man, for one, I completely forgot what I was talking about before the last clip ended. Shame. It's okay. It's not a shame. It is what it is. I know I was getting to some point before it cut off, but I'm forgetting it. But anyways, I'll just continue. Yesterday when I was with my friends, one of them was browsing the YouTube app on his TV, and he subscribed to my channel, so one of my videos just popped up, and I felt an immense discomfort with the idea of my friends sitting around and watching one of my videos as I'm there. And I'm processing and thinking about this now in real time, but I realize, I think a lot of people can probably relate to something like that, where we feel scared to show that vulnerability. And for one, I think when we feel vulnerable, it's certainly harder to share, and we're certainly more sensitive to how people react. And I think that's what's so hard about, sharing things that are very deep and very personal. Whether that's our art, maybe if you're creative, if you create music, create art, maybe you used to, maybe you're afraid to. Who knows? I mean, that's a conversation to have with yourself. But for myself, I used to be extremely into music, and I'm starting to get back into it, honestly. So we'll see what happens with that. But I used to be extremely into music, but I felt very afraid to be vulnerable and to share it. For example, when I would think about writing lyrics, I would feel deathly afraid of writing lyrics for my music, for my songs, because it's such a vulnerable thing. It's presenting in front of the class. It's so hard for a lot of us. And understandably, I mean, that's why it's so hard to choose how you want to respond and to go against those feelings anyways. It's my belief that, vulnerability is hard. It's really fucking hard. And it sucks. And it really sucked yesterday being vulnerable. I felt it was pretty fruitful in the grand scheme of things. I felt it was still very difficult. Emotionally, it was very overbearing, very, very difficult to experience. And I felt fear and anxiety in my inner child. I felt like I was going to be belittled or shut down or demonized, but none of that happened. There was certainly a lot of resistance to some of the things I was sharing and some of the things I believed and some of the feelings and thoughts I was saying. But I also realized that I believe, what I choose to believe is my experience, my feelings are just that, how I perceived it, how I experienced it, how I felt it. And however my friends feel about that has everything to do with themselves and not much to do with me. In the sense that I know how I feel, I know what I experience. I can voice it. I can't control if people will listen or if people will want to listen to what I say in the way that I intend to convey it. A huge part of that is I can work to effectively convey my message, to become a very effective communicator, and I think I am, honestly. I feel extremely proud of myself for the progress I made and how much I've improved in communicating. Whether that's, there's so many levels to that. There's my thoughts, my feelings, and how I present it, how I convey it. And there's just so much more to it, because there's feeling, being able to voice how I feel about how the other person might feel, that's something I always was very afraid to do, voice that, oh, I feel like you might feel angry, is that the case? I would feel very hesitant, very scared to voice my perception of how someone else might feel. But now that I think about it, I think that would have been very effective last night when I was talking to my friends, because there were many instances where it did feel that they were getting a little riled up, or a little more like intense, or like resistant, or like not antagonistic, but like it felt that they disagreed with what I was sharing. But I also know, like, in referring to, like, when I was talking about emotions and the importance of emotions and feeling our emotions and, like, expressing and processing our emotions, I feel that my friends are a little contrary to that belief. I feel that they don't, it seems like they don't like to feel their emotions. They are a little distant or far removed from their emotions. And I feel that I perceive at times when I share things that other people don't like, or that goes against something someone else believes, I often I pick up on that. I feel their discomfort or their like guard come up. I feel their barriers, their walls come up. And I think for a very long time, I felt that that meant something personally about me. I felt that it was indicative of how I was approaching the situation. And there's certainly things I can improve, but one of the greatest lies that I let, not that other people told me, maybe they did, maybe it was their intention, maybe it wasn't. I think most people are pretty decent people, and a lot of times people are oblivious to the ways that they're affecting others, or the ways that their message is being conveyed. And so it's twofold. Like, every time, this is one of the greatest discoveries, the most eye-opening discoveries I realized with my relationship. Like, every time my girlfriend could tell me something, I can ask. Anytime I could tell something, my girlfriend could ask me. And it's such a it sounds so simple, and I guess it is, but it's so much harder in practice. And honestly, there's a beautiful bird right here. Oh. Honestly, it's been fucking fundamentally shifting in how I approach relationships in my life and communication. Like, I feel that there's really immense value in this realization that anytime someone else can, so can I. And I feel that a lot of times we focus on the external, we focus on how other people can change. We're like, oh, like, this person should ask. Like, okay, maybe they should. Maybe they fucking should. Very possible. But that's how you feel about it, and they probably disagree with that. And when you have two people that disagree, if you aren't able to listen and to understand them and to share and voice your own perspective, because a huge part of that is understanding your own perspective, understanding your own beliefs, your own thoughts, your own feelings. And I think a lot of times we're very quick to act, and we lead with feeling, or we lead with reaction. We lead with reaction rather than intention. I feel that there's many people who lead with reaction and not intention. And whether it's true or not, I mean, who can really say, right? It's also, everyone's experience is subjective. But I feel that one of the greatest things I can do is realize, like, okay, maybe everyone is reactionary rather than intentional, but why would I focus on changing everyone else when I can change myself and lead by example and be the change I want to see? And I think that's one of the most fundamental shifts in, like, my mindset lately, where I've realized, like, yeah, there's so many things that I feel are wrong with the world and that I feel is just kind of fucking everyone over. But the way to create that change isn't by criticizing others or telling people what they should believe. I can simply just do my half of the equation, and I think there's nothing wrong. I think most people are willing to listen if you want to share something. You just have to do it in a way that's respectful and that's non-judgmental. And I feel that a lot of people have their guard up. A lot of people are afraid to to be vulnerable and to share what they truly think and feel about things. And this is certainly the case for me. I've definitely improved a lot, but certainly something I want to keep improving on. And part of why I hated politics and religion, because I felt extremely uncomfortable talking about these topics, because I felt that I couldn't share my point of view. I couldn't share my perspective. There was no room for it to be shared. I feel that many people are extremely intense in their reaction and in their tone and their behavior when having discussions about things like this. And I think part of that lies on me. It's certainly my responsibility, because it's my feelings, and in a way it's like I feel it's kind of like a blessing and a curse, where I feel that I feel things very strongly and I pick up on things that a lot of people don't, potentially. And I feel there are things that sort of affect me deeply and are hurtful, or just feel very shutting down for me, that if it happened to someone else, they might not feel that way. And so I think when it came to like vulnerable stuff like topics like politics, religion, I felt like I couldn't approach those situations and those conversations, because I felt that I felt extremely sensitive to the what felt like a strong emotional response from the other party, or even for myself. I think that's one of the things that makes it extremely difficult to talk about religion and politics, amongst other things, touchy subjects in general. But I realize, like, I do feel extreme difficulty in those situations. And I can't change everyone else. I can't tell everyone else that they need to ask, they need to be more patient, they need to be more sympathetic. I mean, I could, and maybe some people will be open and listen to that, but a lot of people don't. In my experience, I feel that most people don't like being told what they should do, how they feel, what their experiences are, what they're doing wrong. I feel that there's a certain level of judgment. There's a certain perception of judgment when you tell someone that they should do something, or that they're not doing something as you feel they should. And I feel like that's where a lot of us get lost, is we lead with our belief and what we think and what we feel other people should be doing. But I feel that what that does is actually contrary to what we want, which is that it shuts people down. And I think it's extremely visible in the Israel-Palestine conflict, where regardless of what anyone believes, a lot of people feel so strongly about it that it feels like there's an inability or an unwantingness to understand the other side. And I think part of that is the emotion it evokes, for sure. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being emotional. I think in the past, I might have felt so, I might have believed so. I remember I would feel very detached from my emotions and I felt like, oh, everyone's too emotional, like that's the problem these days. Like it's so common, man. Everyone's always like, oh, that's the problem these days. And I realized, like, maybe that's how I sound. But I don't, and I think this is where I need to be careful about how I convey my messages rather than how other people perceive it, because the only thing I can do is try to be a better communicator and try to convey my messages in the way I intend to. And part of that is being honest, being authentic, being communicative about the times when I'm not sure how I feel or what I think, or I'm not sure how they perceive it, and checking for understanding and stuff like that. Like, there's so many things we can do to create effective communication. And I think a lot of times we focus on what the other party can do, when in reality, if we each focus on ourselves and being able to communicate our own needs and being aware of our own needs and our own stance and our own beliefs, our own thoughts, it forces that other half of the equation to change and to respond. And one of the most valuable, powerful lessons and empowering lessons in my life lately, and just in general, when I was most in love with myself and proud of who I was that I had this mindset of being the change I wanted to see, being proud of who I was, being someone I was proud to be, being someone I loved being and loved living as. And I lost my train of thought. I looked up and there was some dude staring at me, and that made me lose my train of thought. Let me reframe that. I felt that they were judging me. I felt that they might be thinking something of me. And those feelings, I allowed those feelings to dissuade me from my train of thought. Although there's nothing inherently wrong with that. Maybe I did. And that's okay. Like, the thing is, like, this is a situation where, like, in the past, I might shit on myself. I might, like, feel guilty or, like, shamed of myself for letting myself, quote unquote, like, be dissuaded or stuff like that. But the thing is, like, I can only do my best. That's all we can do. We can only do our best. We can accept ourselves where we're at. We can be honest with ourselves. That's what approach I've taken to my own personal life, and what I feel has been extremely helpful for myself. And what I feel that by leading by example and with this frame of mind, I, rather than focusing on how other people are living their lives and how I perceive it, I can just be the change that I want to see for myself and come to each situation, each encounter, each conversation with other people knowing 100% of my side of the equation, because that will help me come at their side of the equation. That will help me understand them and communicate with them in a much better way. God damn it. I lost my train of thought again. I keep looking up. Those another dude staring at me, looking at me. And that's the thing, man. That's what happens. And that's okay. I'm gonna accept myself where I'm at. Like, I'm not perfect. I never will be. None of us will. There are gonna be times where I allow instinct or my initial feelings to dissuade me or deter me from being the person I want to be. I'll feel afraid to be who I want to be. And that's okay. I'm just gonna do my best. I'm gonna be honest with myself. I'm gonna accept myself. And, you know, I keep losing my train of thoughts at times when I see people looking at me, but that's okay. And I think it's something I'm gonna have to keep getting used to. And I'm sure that with practice I'll actually get really good at it. But I do feel that it's an interesting adjustment to be back in the US and to talk in public. You know, like, when I was in China, like, I was in public, but no one could fucking understand me. So I was basically in private in a weird way. I could react to, like, the way people on the surface might see me or react. Maybe if they glare or they look at me, you know. At that point, it's up to me and my interpretation as to how I perceive that. And, you know, like, someone looks at me, like, I don't know what they're thinking. I don't know what they're feeling. I can certainly perceive certain ideas of what they might be thinking and what they might be feeling, but I don't truly know unless I talk to them and figure it out. But, you know, this is like a classic situation where, like, I have these feelings, but I'm going to separate my feelings from my beliefs. And even though I feel that people are judging me, I feel that in public it's difficult to talk and to be open and to be vulnerable, and, like, for strangers to be able to listen in on that. I think most people are going to, probably similar to what my experience has been like online already, where, like, most people aren't haters. Most people aren't extremely judgmental. Some people certainly are, but it's not the norm. And I think in real life, most people won't actually act on these type of thoughts and feelings, because a lot of these people that express these thoughts and feelings, they only are able to do it because it's online and it's in a medium in which it's extremely easy to do so because it's anonymous. There's no repercussions, seemingly. At least that's what it seems like. It's my belief that there most definitely are repercussions. It's just not from anyone else, it's from ourselves. If I'm someone that's I was someone at one point that was very resentful, very bitter, very judgmental. And while I never really acted on it, that shit still affects you. And really the greatest loser is ourselves in that situation, because the way we act towards others and the energy and let's see, I don't want to get too like wishy-washy, wooey. The things we say matter, and if we choose our power to say in a way that's hurtful and with an intention to inflict harm on others, it will actually mostly harm ourselves. It will harm them too, probably. And that's why it's so immensely valuable to grow tough skin and to not take things personally from people who have literally no fucking clue who you are. And that's part of like what's a bit liberating about something like this is like the people who would hate on me and shit on me are probably not people who would even listen to this, right? These are people that they tend to be on viral posts and like just shitting on someone that like went viral and that they don't like. And maybe one day that will be me. That would be fucking amazing. And I think in the past that would be something that I would feel a little guilty maybe for thinking, like for wanting to be viral or wanting to grow my channel, but that doesn't even make sense. And that's why it's so fucking valuable to just say our thoughts out loud, because a lot of times we just fucking consume that shit. Our thoughts say something, or our feelings say something, we feel a certain way, and we immediately assume that because we're feeling it, it's true, or that we feel that because we think that way, that it's true. And like yesterday, like with my friend, there was this whole situation where it felt like he was being very defensive and very like self-critical, self-resentful almost, self-hating. And it's very difficult to like navigate a situation like that, because like I think it comes back to what I've been saying, where like the best thing you can do is try to understand someone and try to be there to listen to them. And there was a situation that was very hurtful, very sad for me, because not necessarily because he did anything wrong. Maybe he did, but I feel that I've noticed something in myself where okay. My phone ran out of storage for the fourth time, or third time now today. This is my fourth video now. Let me not lose my train of thought. What I was saying, and I think I'll end with this. I feel that I've noticed that I feel very sad. I feel that's very personal. When I'm trying my best, I'm being very well intentioned, and I'm just genuinely care about something, and I want to help. I want to help someone, and I've realized I feel, one of the times that I've felt this very strongly was with my relationship in my past with my ex, where I felt that I was very well-meaning and I was trying to help her, and like I was doing my best, and I felt extremely sad and distraught and like hurt when I felt that she would be very harsh and like frustrated at me. And I think in general, that's the thing. I feel very sensitive to people feeling frustrated at me. And I think for a long time, I felt that it was personal, that I felt that it indicated something about me and about myself. And I feel that, more accurately, I feel that I allowed myself to take it personally and to be affected by it personally. Not to say that I've done anything wrong or that I regret what I did. It's in the past, it's out of my control. I certainly can't control it. I certainly did my best. And that's all we can do, I feel. Our best, and just accept what's out of our control, accept what's in our control, and focus on what we can't control. And I feel that I've realized this feeling, this susceptibility to feeling that to feeling really sad, really hurt, when I'm just trying to do my best and feeling very vulnerable and like caring and like giving, and I feel like it's not appreciated, or more so, it's like it leads to frustration. It feels like frustration against me for that. And yesterday, this was the case, and I had to step out of the. I had to step out of the social gathering, I guess, late at night, and go sit outside and process my feelings. And I cried a fuck ton, honestly. And I felt very sad, very hurt, and I was processing it. And I realized that I felt, because I was trying to help my friend, and he was feeling very frustrated at me, and he felt that I was being very solution oriented when he just wanted to be heard. And I was, during the engagement, I certainly felt the intensity, and this is the type of situation I would be extremely afraid of. And I felt like my inner child like crying out and like feeling very afraid and feeling like I should leave and protect myself. I don't regret how I responded, how I acted in the situation. I think I did my best, and I'm very proud of myself actually for being strong and for continuing to have that discussion even though it was getting sort of heated, and even though there was a gap in understanding and an agreement, and there was frustration against me for how he felt I was handling the situation. And it goes back to this principle of like, however he feels, that's how he feels, and however he perceives it is how he perceives it. It's 100% valid. I can't fucking tell him how he feels or how he experiences things, in the same way that he can't for me. And for myself, I knew that, I know how I felt, I know how I experienced it, I know that I had no ill intention, I know that I did my best, I know that I tried my best, I tried to be as honest as I could, as communicative as I could. I know that I'm new to this, I know that this is all new stuff for me, this is all stuff that's very hard for me, and this is the first time I've done this type of stuff in a very long time, where I've put myself through a discussion that's really intense, that's very personal, very vulnerable. And I feel amazing as to how much vulnerability I showed last night. I cried a lot. I explained a lot of my experiences and my hurt and my suffering and put it into words, and I feel very proud of myself for that, and very proud of myself for giving myself the space, even just to process emotions and cry in front of everyone. I feel that I feel that a lot of people are very uncomfortable around emotions, and I feel that some of my friends felt uncomfortable around me just crying, which is an interesting thing. I've certainly felt that way in the past when other people would be very sad around me, because it's hard. You don't really know what to do. You don't really know how to act or how to respond to it or how to help. And another part of why it's so important and just amazing and just liberating to be honest and be truthful, even, to know that we don't know, and to know that, I've loved how relieving it is, and I believe very strongly in being honest, because it's just so amazing to just live with that peace of mind, to know that like I've said everything I need to say. There's no burden of like lies, no house of cards that I've built on like a lie, and there's nothing I need to worry about. Like, if I'm always honest, then I'll never need to worry about saying things that are lies or saying things that aren't true. I know that if I know I'm trying my best and I accept myself and I'm being honest with myself and I'm doing my best, like what's more liberating than that, Like, it's extremely liberating. And I feel that I certainly applied those principles that I've chosen to live by, because I believe in them, and I believe they're important, and I believe that if more people chose to live by these principles, I feel that it would be very life-changing, and it has the power to be very life-changing. And at the same time, like I've said, I can't control how other people live their lives. I don't know if they're truly happy, if not. I don't know if they're being honest with themselves. I can't assess that. I can assess my observations and how I feel about it and how I perceive it. But if they're unwilling to listen, if they're not in a place to listen, then there's nothing I can do about that. And I think it's a very tough pill to swallow, especially when it's like with people that we love and we care about. Sometimes it's very difficult to love and care about someone who doesn't love and care about themselves. I don't know, getting into a bit of a tangent, but let's just say that, I think a lot of times I feel like part of being vulnerable and honest is like, a lot of times I feel that I'm acting out of love and like compassion and because I care, but I feel that it doesn't come off that way, it doesn't convey that way. A lot of that has to do with how my friends perceive me and who I was in the past, and that's 100% valid. Like, he had actually stated, a lot of my friends were stating that at first they thought I was being like head ass and like was like pressing him and like questioning his beliefs, but I was actually 100% asking questions to try and understand him and like build up my understanding from the ground up and ensure that he feels heard and that he feels that I understand what he said. And so I think, I think my friends, in the same way that I feel they haven't changed, I don't think I feel that maybe they don't realize how much I've changed. And I feel that I have changed a fuck ton. I often feel that people don't care, that I've changed, that they don't want to listen. And, part of that comes with like these videos and feeling like no one actually watches them of my friends and like tells me about it. But that's just the knowledge I know. A lot of times I think it's very common, like I do it all the time, like I feel weird about like, I don't know, maybe I haven't talked to someone in a very long time, so I feel weird about talking to them about something, or, like there's so many reasons we can get caught up in our head and not convey the things we experience and the things we feel and the things we want to. A lot of times it's fear of what they might think, so many things, man. And it's not to say fear is a bad thing, fear is our friend. And I'll leave off on this because, man, I'm getting tired, I'm pretty burnt. Fear is our friend, Fear can become our friend. Fear is just fear. And our relationship with fear is what matters. And I want to be very intentional and very in control of fear and how I respond to fear. And I just found a fucking, like, crack pipe. There's like a fucking crack pipe or something right here. That's fucking crazy, man. That's a topic for another day. Oh man, it's weird being back in the US. There's so many, in any country, man. I've been in many countries. Every country has problems. Humans are humans everywhere, and that means we're imperfect everywhere. And there are problems everywhere. And I can only do me. I can only do my part, and that's what I want to do. That's what I want to be unafraid of doing. I want to not fear doing my part. And that's what this is. These videos is documenting all these thoughts, documenting my process. It's all about doing my part and capturing it so that other people can witness or listen or whatever, I feel that there will come a day where my channel will grow and will resonate with people, and I feel very good about the direction I'm heading in. I feel very passionate about it. I feel very strongly, and I'm trusting in myself and in the process. And I feel that there will come a day where I'm very much rewarded for all of it. Or maybe there won't. Who knows? I can't control the outcomes. I can only control my input. I'm at peace with that. I'm going into it with my eyes open. I know what's possible. I know what the consequences are. But if we never try, we'll never know. That I believe for sure. So it's up to us to decide. And for me, I choose to try. And so here I am, trying to change, trying to become the person I want to be, trying to inspire others to do the same. And here we go, baby. That's what this is all about. And first and foremost, I'm going to do it for myself. I'm going to focus on creating the change I want for myself and living in a way that I'm proud of, living in a way that I love, first and foremost. What happens from there is out of my control. I can only focus on my input. I can't make people listen, but I can certainly use my voice. I can certainly talk. And I think what will surprise me is that there's many more people willing to listen than I think. And maybe for you as well. Maybe not. Maybe maybe you are extremely overpowering and your conversations and you don't listen to others, and so other people won't listen to you. And that's what it's all about. What it's all about, man. Like karma type shit. Like it's also just laws of physics. Like every force has an equal and opposite force. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Like if I approach a situation with my beliefs and feeling very strongly about it and unopen to hearing the other side, they're gonna come at me with that exact same energy. And I can't control how other people respond to the things I say and the things that I want to voice, but I can control what I voice and not impose myself and just be very open-minded and just express my experience, and that's it. And I think I'll be very pleasantly surprised by how many people will be willing to listen. And yeah, I guess we're just gonna see. But I'm feeling really good. Feeling quite amazing, honestly. You know, I've thought about this too. It's like people listen to podcasts, people listen to people talk for like 2 hours, usually in a conversation with someone else. But I realize like I'm essentially just having a conversation with myself. Or even like there's like live streamers and IRL streamers and stuff. Like there's people who will watch people talk to themselves. Probably, right? I guess that's what we'll see. Certainly that's been the experience so far. A lot of people have expressed a lot of appreciation. I've been gaining a lot of subscribers and stuff, and people are just interested, and I feel that I've been very intentional about how I approach this channel and what I'm doing and what I'm focusing on. And it's not on telling other people that they're wrong. It's on changing myself so that I can feel that I'm living in a way that is right for myself, that I believe in, that I'm willing to live and die for. And that's what I want. I want to be someone who has something to live and die for, who has something that means something to them. And I think I'm certainly getting there. I'm certainly feeling more and more like that. And I think as this journey continues, I have a feeling I'm going to be pleasantly surprised. I'm at 142 subscribers as of recording this. I'm honestly feeling really good. I feel that people have really been resonating. People have been dropping a lot of really supportive, appreciative comments. And I feel that I'm heading in the right direction. And I'm extremely proud of myself for that. And in the past, that's something I would be afraid to say because I would think like people would take it as ego. I can't control what people take it as. I know for myself that what I feel is pride in what I've accomplished. And if that makes someone uncomfortable, that's certainly not my intention. I can't control that. Maybe I can convey a little more effectively, but that's how I feel about myself. No one can take away how I feel. No one can take away how I experience in the same way that I can't take away how you feel and how you experience. It's all up to decisions, all up to how we respond to our feelings. And I feel fucking great. I feel very proud of myself. I feel very glad that I got up at 8 a.m. and felt like shit, honestly. My first 30 minutes of this is probably like nonsensical, not nonsensical. I was certainly very tired, very overwhelmed, and certainly not as coherent and like passionate and hyped up as I am in saying all these reflections now. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know what more to say. I'm feeling good. This is absolutely my longest video of ranting. Not ranting, I don't want to say ranting. My longest video of documenting my thoughts to date. I feel extremely good about it. I feel very proud of myself. And I feel that the momentum's there, and I'm going to be extremely pleasantly surprised at what's to come. I think my momentum's going to drive me in an excellent direction, and I feel that there will be fruits to my labors, and I'm excited for that. Maybe not. I don't know. I feel excited, but ran out of phone storage again. Holy fuck, I've gone on for so long. This must be at least at the 2 hour mark. Fuck, what was I gonna say? Oh, excitement and anxiety. They're the same side of the same. There's different sides of the same coin. Both are a feeling towards what we think will happen in the future. I don't know what's gonna happen. I really don't. But I feel very good about what I feel might happen in the future. And I'm going to focus on what I can do, what I can control. But I have a really good feeling about all that, and I feel that I'm in a really good direction, a really good space, and feeling really strongly and passionate about my message and the things I'm sharing and documenting. And I feel that so far it's been resonating very strongly with many people, and I feel it will continue to, especially as my channel grows and more people become aware of it. And I'm excited. No. I mean, maybe I am excited. I am excited. It's okay to be excited. Actually, you know what? Fuck it. It's okay. I'm excited. I am excited. It's okay that I feel excited. I'm not going to act based on my excitement. I'm going to continue to do what I've been doing and focusing on what I can do in my part of the equation, and not act based on what I think will happen. Not get not set my expectations super high and shit. I don't know what I'm getting at. It's been like 2 fucking hours. My brain is rotten in the best of ways. Not in like the common saying of brain rot, but my brain is pleased at how much I've processed and the realization and the awareness I've built. And I feel very good about what I've done today. Very proud. And no one can take that away from me. I feel very good about it. And let's fucking go. Let's fucking go, baby. This was a considerably harder one to film. Particularly starting off. I felt like shit, honestly. But I feel pretty freaking good now. And I'm also very jet lagged. My physiological state is very much fucked. I've been doing a lot of walking as I film this, and that's been great. I've gotten a fuck ton of exercise. So it's fucking, my day is off to a great start. I'm gonna go back home. Maybe I'm gonna go sleep somewhere. I don't know what, who knows. I'll figure it out. Thank you guys for watching, if anyone watched at all. Still waiting for the day that someone watches an entire video. That would be a blessing. If you're the first person to ever watch an entire video, let me know. I don't know what I'll do, how I'll respond. I was gonna make some promise, but I don't want to make a promise I can't keep. So, we'll see. We'll see. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. Blah, 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 blah. My brain is fried. In a good way. I'm gonna just end the recording and walk home. I don't know. No need to explain anything. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for not watching. Thank you guys for being guys. Thank you all for being all. Thank you humans for being human.